Hi, this is your host, Garrett Lambert. I'd like to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Art Giser. The creator of Energetic NLP, Art is an internationally renowned teacher, intuitive, and healer. And Art has a very unique background. He's been an NLP trainer, medical researcher, consultant to major corporations in leadership, 29 years of study and development in the fields of NLP, spirituality, life coaching, healing, and intuition development. Art's gift is in helping people open their hidden abilities and integrate their inner wisdom and spirit into their daily lives. Art leads people to discover how amazing they truly are and to be healthier, more joy being alive, and to contribute more to the world. How's it get better than that? Today, you're going to discover why the law of attraction only works sometimes, and how to use it to create your authentic heart's desire. You're going to discover what the 5 authentic agendas in your life are, why it's difficult to manifest what you want if those agendas are not in alignment. You're going to be guided in a process to create alignment between your 5 authentic agendas, and you're going to discover that your unconscious mind is a secret coding system. And if you don't know how it works, it can actually interfere with your abundance. Art, I'm excited about this call. Thank you for joining us today, and welcome to the call.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure, and I'm honored to be here. So thank you.
Well, a pleasure to have you here. Now, Art, you have quite a background, and I wonder if you could, and quite a success story. I wonder if you could take a few minutes, if you will, and share what you believe may have been the major turning points that allowed you to manifest your current level of success.
I think for me, and what I find in my students and clients, it's almost always comes down to a change in beliefs. And for me, I kept trying to figure out, when I was doing the medical research, it was a good job and I was proud of what we were doing, but I knew I didn't belong there. And I just was really stuck. And I was stuck for the same reason that everybody gets stuck. No matter what's going on externally, it really comes down to beliefs. And I remember talking to this woman. She'd been my first girlfriend in college. And she went, Art, your problem is you're looking for a job that will fit you. And she goes, you're kind of an unusual person. You're not going to find it. You're going to have to go out and make it. And at the time, I had never thought of like starting my own business or doing anything. And when she said that, I knew she was right. I could feel the truth. And it planted a seed, though it took me a little while to do anything about it. And one of the things that I believe and that I help people open up to is synchronicity, and that we're incredibly guided and supported in life. And, we all have different beliefs about where that guidance comes from. You might think it comes from your unconscious mind or God or angels or the collective consciousness. But wherever you think it comes from, it's there and it's real. And I was starting to open up to this idea that, okay, maybe I could find something or create something that would be really a good fit for me. And I saw a poster on a bulletin board, and it said neuro-linguistic programming. And I literally it felt like a lightning bolt went straight down the midline of my body. And my father was an early computer guy. I was into science when I was even a little child. And I'd always loved the logical part of me. And the logical part of my mind went, what was that? And the other part of my mind goes, well, what do you think that was? It was some kind of sign or message. And I didn't think that way at the time. But
right.
And that's what got me into NLP. And I found it that for myself and other people, if you're open to it, you'll get messages in all kinds of ways. And they'll be unmistakable. They may be subtle, but they'll be unmistakable. So I think that's made the biggest difference for me. Now, in corporations, I teach people how to, plan as a group and all of these things. And at the same time, I think some of the best things that happen, they just sort of present themselves. And then it's our job to pick up on it. I mean, to take a very business example, when Steve Jobs and Wozniak started Apple Computer, they weren't trying to start a computer company. They were just making these motherboards for computer enthusiasts. And then opportunities kept opening up for them, and they took them. And I think that for a lot of successful people, some of them plan it all out, but for a lot of us, it's about being alert to the opportunities and then going for it. And believing that we'll be supported in that, even if we don't know how in the world it's going to work.
Wow, that feels profound to me. I'll tell you that because, opening up to what else is possible when there is messages all the time that come to us. And like you said, it's just being aware and being open to them. And I'm curious about how did you come to develop energetic NLP? It's fascinating because I'm a master NLP trainer, and you talk about some things that I love the way that you phrase these things because you seem to combine the elements of, if I can use this word, spirituality with our understanding of science and how this all works together. And I really love your heart. And so I'd love for you to how did you develop energetic NLP?
In probably a less linear way than I should. After I saw that poster, I started studying NLP, and 5 minutes into my first class, I knew I was in the right place. And the funny thing was I'd always believed all my life that my path was just going to appear. But, as I was getting older and older, I thought, well, maybe I'm just conning myself. But it did appear. And I started with a really advanced class because it was, I just felt compelled to take whatever was up. And it was like 2 5-day sessions and an advanced NLP and Ericksonian hypnosis. And I was one of the couple people out of about 60 that didn't know anything. And when I came back for the second 5 days, and we would work with each other in exercises, all these people were coming up who were very good at NLP and therapists and psychologists. And they were going, that work you did on me, it changed my life. And I would respond like, really? Probably in that tone of voice. And so I realized I love this and I'm changing people's lives. And it's just the most fascinating thing I've ever heard of. So then I went back and started taking the basic practitioner course. But I had met a lot of people through the advanced course, and there was an opening in Leslie Cameron Bandler's research group, and I was allowed to come into that. Everybody else was like your trainers or master practitioners, and I was the new guy. It was an amazing learning experience, and we developed a lot of incredible things on emotions and other things. But I'd always been interested in ESP and dreams and psychic phenomena. And I've done a little bit with it and had some amazing experiences, but not intensely studied it. And to me, this is another of those, that when you're ready, opportunities will show up. And one of the people in the class said, oh, there's a man named Lynn Martin visiting. He's this incredible psychic and intuitive, and we're having people over the house. Do you want to come? And I went, yeah, why not? And I showed up late, so he didn't have a chance to listen to me or read me. He had his eyes closed, and we were sitting in a circle. So the only read he could get of me was when I asked my question. And I'll make a long story short. I asked him a question, and then he went, well, there's something else. And he proceeded to tell me my greatest fear that I had never mentioned to anybody. And it might not have sounded like that big a deal to anybody else, but I was like stunned. And then he goes, you don't have to worry about that. And I felt this enormous weight come off of me. And the next weekend I was studying with him. And then ever since I've studied with all kinds of healers and intuitives and psychics and everything from the president of the American Philippine Psychic Healing Institution to South American healers to empowerments from the Dalai Lama, the very Western healers. And I was finding that I could do amazing things with NLP and I could do amazing things with the energy work, but I had a belief in my mind for some reason I needed to keep them separate, like it was cheating in NLP if I used these other skills.
You're right.
And I believe, on one hand, you don't want to let other people discourage you, but sometimes people, if you keep hearing the same message from several people, you can feel when it's guidance, that they've tapped into something. And about 3 different people said, Art, that's really stupid. Do everything you can. And I went, oh, yeah, who made up this rule that I have to keep them separate? And when I put them together, the results were much better than either one alone. And that was back in about 85 that Energetic NLP was really born, and I've developed it ever since.
Wow, fascinating story. I love the way that you've combined energy work you've done with NLP. It just seems so potent and powerful in the way it can transform people's lives. I wondered if is there a way you could maybe describe what is energetic NLP?
It's a synthesis of NLP, the neuro-linguistic programming, which is a very structured, logical, fantastic system with spiritual concepts and transformative energy work. For any listeners that are new to energy work, there's this belief out there that energy work is unscientific and woo-woo. And it's completely, somebody who did research for 11 years, it's completely untrue. There's actually a lot of excellent research that proves as much as anything is proved in science that there's an energy field in and around the body, and that when we think, the energy field shifts. And moreover, you can think it's somebody else's energy field and it will shift. And they can hook somebody up to medical instruments and have somebody 1,000 miles away, and the people the subject doesn't know when it's going to happen, and the operator doesn't know when it's going to happen, the operator of the equipment. And when the person starts thinking healing energies in their direction, their responses shift. And when they stop, it doesn't go back all the way to where it was, but they can tell that they've stopped. And this has been repeated countless times in many, many different universities and other institutions. And that's just one example. So energy work is scientific. It's just science can't explain it well yet. But science can't even explain gravity well yet. So the gravity exists. Right. People go, I don't believe in invisible energies. I go, oh, really? Jump up in the air and tell me what happens. It's the thing we call gravity that nobody really understands yet. So, and energy work has been known about for thousands and thousands of years. There's like 92 different human languages that have words for human energy, including Hebrew and Chinese and Japanese. And everybody knows about it. And in fact, what's funny is sometimes you'll get people who go, this is a bunch of nonsense. And they'll go, yeah, I didn't like the feel of that deal. Or that even Donald Trump talks about that he won't do a deal if it doesn't feel right, even if the numbers make sense.
Oh, that's interesting. That's right. Interesting. So he's feeling into energy, and he's working with a lot of energy fields, and maybe he doesn't know it, but they're working but he's aware of them in some way.
He's definitely aware of them. Now, how he would explain it, I have no idea. And Bill Gates talks about use your intuition is the most important thing. Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Oprah Winfrey. I mean, just person after person, they all, and again, what they mean by that, who knows? But, and Stephen Jobs talked about if you go for what you love, things will just happen. And he was fairly successful. So Energetic NLP is bringing together the best I've found of all of these systems, including very different energy systems, because my teachers have been very diverse. It's my job in life is to pull together different things and bring them together. It seemed to be opposites.
Yeah, I think that's part of the genius of your system that I've noticed. So this is kind of a two-part question, but regarding the law of attraction, why do you think the law of attraction only works sometimes and not at others? What really makes the difference there? And how can we use it to create what you call your authentic heart's desires?
Mm-hmm. Well, the law of attraction and the books on it, like The Secret, and I think all that material is fantastic and it's really helped people. But particularly like The Secret, and they were only trying to get across that one major idea. And it is that simple, except it's not. There's some complications. And one of them is that there's multiple agendas running everybody's lives. And about 5 of them are what I think we can consider authentic to the person. And then there's a few that are external to them. And you may consciously go, oh, I want to be financially independent. But maybe your unconscious mind is going, I don't think so. And maybe your soul is going, I really wanted something else. So there's all these different agendas, or maybe your family programming, because there's energetic programming from families. Maybe your family programming is, having too much money is a bad thing. And so we have all of these different things going on. And when we visualize something we want, and when it's really in alignment with everything, it tends to happen. But often what happens is your unconscious mind is manifesting one thing. Your conscious mind is manifesting another. Your soul is doing something different. Your body wants another thing. So I do a lot of work with people, and it's a fairly simple process in aligning these different agendas. So as you move forward in life, your goals can shift because they become closer to your authentic heart's desires, but they're much more likely to manifest because you're not fighting yourself on it. There's a lot of people who, you go, how are you getting parking spots? And there's a lot of us who go, oh, yeah, I live part-time in San Francisco and used to have a lot of trouble parking. And then I was thinking about these sort of things, and I just decided to change my beliefs and that I'm really lucky about parking. And I've been that way ever since. And I'm not saying I never have problems, but I've gone to amazingly crowded things, gotten great parking spots easily. And that didn't used to be what happened for me. But that's a different order of thing than going, I want a career that I find really satisfying and gives me financial independence. That's liable to bring up a lot more resistance in people. And that resistance is trying to create something different than what you're visualizing or affirming. So when people learn to align these different agendas and to separate out from family agendas and ancestral agendas and humanities agendas, when they, not to fight those agendas, but separate out from them and align their own, then a lot of magic starts to happen.
That's an interesting segue here. So you talk about the fact that we have many, many agendas running our lives. Can you explain that a little bit further?
Yeah, so the 5 that, in my opinion, are authentic ones is your body has agendas. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners have at least heard this or not experienced it, that one of the ways to eat a healthier diet is when you think of eating something, ask your body, does it want it? And you'll get a feeling like, yes, no. I mean, the body has its own agendas of what it wants, which is about being healthy. And a lot of us like, oh, I don't need that much sleep. But if you check in, your body might go, I do. So the body, and we would say energetically, the body even has a consciousness. But whether or not you want to picture it that way, we all know that our body has its wants and needs, its own agenda. And then since Freud, we've all known that the unconscious mind has agendas. And in NLP, we talk about the parts of the unconscious mind. So when people talk about inner child, it's more like inner children. The 6-year-old part of you may want something different than the 14-year-old part of you may want something different than your inner wisdom, which might want something different than your playful aspects of your unconscious. See, the unconscious is one thing, but it's got a lot of different parts, and the different aspects of it may not be in alignment with one another, and they're often out of alignment with the conscious mind. Or let me say that differently. They're often where we can't manifest well in our lives, where the law of attraction doesn't work. One of the things to first look at is your unconscious mind in conflict with what you think you consciously want. So there's the body's agendas, the unconscious mind's agendas, the conscious mind's agendas, then the agendas of a person's soul, and the agendas of a person's spirit. Now, in my workshops, I go a lot into what the difference is between soul and spirit. So I'm going to give you a very quick attempt at it now. A lot of different spiritual and religious systems make a differentiation between a person's soul and a person's spirit. And unfortunately, like almost everything in energy work and spirituality, people use the same words to mean different things. So for anybody listening, if I'm using the terms opposite of the way you think of them, just switch it. But if you think you have a physical body and then you have an energetic self that's in your body, but also bigger than your body. And I need to say, when you talk about energies, lower and higher is not inferior, superior. It's just different. So higher energies are not better than lower energies, but they're different. Well, what I'm calling the soul is the lower energies of your non-physical self. And what I've learned over the years is people's souls have issues. And I used to wonder when people would talk about they did soul healing work, and think, well, souls are perfect and beautiful and fine. Why do they need healing? And what I realized later is I was thinking of what those people call spirit. The soul at a lower level is similar to our human personality in that it has issues, it's had traumas, it has wants and desires and needs. When you get to higher frequencies, you get to an aspect of your non-physical self that I'm calling your spirit. And that's the part of you that really has the 90 million mile view. And it has total concern about our personalities and our human life. But it has this big picture. And sometimes it's got such a big picture that like, oh, you want to struggle? Well, okay. You'll learn stuff by that. Or you want to be abundant? Like, well, that's okay too. The spirit tends to be very permissive for the most part. Permissive in the sense that it sees the value in all kinds of human experiences. With the soul, it tends to be very opinionated, and it can be very blocked. your soul might be convinced that you need to struggle. And while you may have consciously gotten out of that old belief system and believe that life can be abundant and easy and flowing, not problem-free, but abundant, easy, and flowing, but your soul might not be in agreement with that. And then the spirit typically can line up with a lot of things, so it does have its boundaries and limits. The first time I really noticed this, I was working with a woman who's a very nice woman, very talented, attractive, fun to be with. And she tended to get in relationships with men that either didn't go very far or she'd stay with them a long time, but they really weren't great relationships, by her opinion, not just my opinion. And I was working with her energetically, and her soul and spirit kind of showed up, and I'm speaking metaphorically, and her soul was going, but I want her to learn to be independent. And if she gets in a strong relationship, she won't be as independent. And the spirit was kind of going, well, I can go either way. kind of thing. So we started working with her soul to see if she could learn to be independent and have a great relationship. And that was like the first time that I realized, because usually when I work with people, they get miraculous results. And sometimes when they wouldn't, I'd go, no, why is this not happening the way we would like it to? And more I would see that the soul might be out of alignment with it, or part of the unconscious, of course. And that's why I developed this process that people can do that's a very simple way to start aligning the 5 authentic agendas.
You know, one of the things that fascinates me about this, because I never really heard somebody talk about this thing called the 5 authentic agendas like that.
I wanted to add one thing. There are other agendas that are affecting people's lives, as I mentioned. So one is your families, your family and your ancestors. Energetic programming is literally passed down from generation to generation. In energy work, they're called thought forms. And any group that you've ever identified with, or your family ever identified with, you'll be connected to the thought forms of that group. And each group has its rules and do's and don'ts and what's okay and what's not okay. And that's not a bad thing, because human beings we're pack animals, we're tribal. And we had to be taught how to survive in whatever group you were born into. And our parents didn't realize it, but they were programmed that as soon as you're in the womb, they started programming you energetically. I mean, again, they're not aware of it. And the programming wasn't necessarily even what they believed. It's just ancestral programming. So that's another agenda. And in my work with people, the idea is to respectfully disconnect from that. Whether or not the programming is good or bad, as we grow up, and the kind of people that would listen to your shows are people that want to be authentic and really manifest the being that they are in their lives. And in order to do that, we have to let go of these old programming. Now, if you're in agreement with any of it, that's fine, but make it your own programming. It doesn't have to exist as this imposed programming. If we had more time, sometimes when I disconnect people from these kind of thought forms, what they want, everything in their life changes for the better and is much more authentic. And people would be stunned if they realized how much we're being controlled by these kind of agendas. The last agenda I wanted to mention is humanity itself at any point in time has agendas. And we don't want to be in opposition to those agendas, but we don't have to participate either. So right now, this is a time of great change and opportunity in the world, and a lot of chaos and disruption. And we don't have to be part of the chaos and disruption part of it. And it's why, no matter how bad a recession is, some people do better than they've ever done. And not because they're doing something wrong or cheating or something, but they're just not participating. And you'll hear some people say, like, well, I decided I wasn't going to participate in the recession. At first you think they're crazy, but then, or I've heard people in real estate go, well, I know real estate's really bad right now, but I refused to join in on that, and I've done fine.
They made a new choice, didn't they?
Right. And again, it's not about being in opposition, because you don't want to be in opposition to these agendas because they'll fight back. It's just going, that's fine. You all get to do what you're doing. I get to do what I'm doing. And, and some people see what we're doing and go, oh, can I go? Yeah, can I go to that party?
I want to go to that party. So will you underscore again, Art, if you will, for our listeners, just the 5 authentic agendas again, and how can we actually align them?
Okay, so what they are, and we're going to go through them, your body's agenda, your unconscious mind's agendas, because there's more than one, your conscious mind's agenda, which is what you would tell people you want right now, your soul's agendas, and your spirit's agendas.
So we're going to go through an energetic NLP process to align these 5 authentic agendas. I'd love to know, how do we align these bad boys?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I just happened to have a way to do it. So a couple of general comments about doing this. One is that I'm going to describe this as a visualization. It's absolutely fine if you don't visualize it. If you visualize it, that's great. If you think of it in words, also great. If you just get the feel of it, also great. If you just pretend it's happening, it will work. In energetic NLP, the main thing is having intention and giving permission. So if everybody gets clear that they want their agendas to get aligned now, and that they give 100% permission for that to happen, that's really all you have to do consciously. And again, I will describe this as a visualization, and just know that your inner self can follow along with it without your conscious mind having to visualize it. If people want to remember what I'm saying, they can keep their eyes open. If they're more comfortable keeping their eyes closed, that's wonderful.
It'll work either way, eyes closed, eyes open.
Yeah.
But and though you do have to give your permission in order for this to occur. Is that correct? I just want to underscore that.
Yeah. So if somebody doesn't want to, that's fine. If you want your agendas aligned, they have to give permission, and have to have the intention and get permission for it. And something I want to make clear, in energetic NLP, we always think of it in terms of what we call the miraculous self is in charge. So my job is to bring in energies to help people, but not to decide what they need. Not to have that kind of arrogance of, I know what they need. I have opinions, but that doesn't, their opinions are better than mine, or their inner wisdom and their spirit are far beyond my opinions. So I'd like them to have the intention that their miraculous self, and that's the term we use in energetic NLP for when your inner wisdom and your spirit are working together. When your inner wisdom and spirit are working together, we call that your miraculous self. And I would suggest to people that they put their miraculous self in charge of what happens for them. And then it will be perfect. Absolutely perfect. And if they try to consciously make things happen, they'll limit it.
Well, I love that. How beautiful that is. So everyone listening, if you are willing to, you put your miraculous self in charge, right? Is that right, Art?
Exactly. And I like to prepare people. There's a number of different reactions people have to energy work. Most of the time, most people just feel good. They may feel tired when it's done, but it's like a good tired. Like let's say you've done some fun exercising. Later, you might feel tired, but it's a real pleasant tired. And the tiredness that can come from this is because they're processing on a very deep level. Sometimes people feel very energized. So it can go either way. While the process is going on, they may notice reactions. Again, they may very likely just feel really good. Emotions may come up that they're clearing, so they may be aware of an emotion all of a sudden. If so, just be mindful of it. Notice it. Don't fight it. Don't feed it. Just let it be. They may temporarily feel an ache or a pain in their body, but again, that will pass. And they might yawn. They might have a muscle twitch, because that's one of the ways we release energy sometimes is muscles twitch. So any of those reactions are perfectly fine. Okay, and just a couple more principles. One is that everybody can do energy work. It's not some special gift that only a few people can do. My ego would have enjoyed that being true, but everybody can do it. It's just a matter of we've been programmed to turn our abilities off when we were children. And that was probably a good idea, because most children find energies quite overwhelming because they don't understand them. So parents unconsciously program us to turn it off. But if you're old enough to be listening to this, then you're old enough to turn it back on and enjoy how amazing you are. And energy follows thought and intention. So when we have intentions and we think of things, energy flows. And it may sound like that's too easy, but it really is that easy. The main, absolutely seriously important thing is that people not be serious about it. Just relax and enjoy it. If everybody listening was 5 years old and I took them through this process, they would just be giggling and it would work perfectly. And it would never occur to them to go, am I doing it right? They just have fun with it. So bring out your inner 5 or 6 year old and just have fun with it. And in fact, it's perfectly fine if the people listening, if a lot of people go to kind of an altered state, and because the energies are going to be pretty high frequency. And if you do that, that's fine. Just know that your miraculous self is doing the work. Okay?
Great. Thank you.
All right. So the process is easier than all that explaining. So I'd like everybody to get comfortable. And again, eyes closed is what most people do. If you want to be more alert, then keep your eyes open. Allow yourself to have a couple easy, deep breaths. And let's imagine that we're somewhere where it's like a beautiful starry night. Everybody's been to places, sometimes up in the mountains or in places away from cities where the stars are just fantastic. So imagine yourself somewhere where you feel very safe and comfortable and where there's this beautiful starry sky. And let one of the stars come down and let it stay tiny and let it twinkle in front of you. And just set the intention that that star represents your bodies, the wants and needs of your body's agendas. So the first star is your body's agendas. A second star comes down, and when you look at this star, it has little tiny stars inside of it, because this star represents the agendas of your unconscious mind. And the different aspects of your unconscious mind can have different agendas. Let a third star come down and let it represent the wants and needs, the agenda of your conscious mind. And this is what you would tell people that you want in your life. The fourth star that comes down represents your soul, the wants and needs of your soul. And the fifth star that comes down represents your spirit and the wants and needs of your spirit. Now let the 5 stars form into a circle. And there's a concept called dialogue. And what dialogue is, it's different than conversation. In dialogue, people take turns and everybody fully expresses. And when they're expressing, everybody else is just fully listening. And you keep cycling through between fully expressing, fully listening. And people don't debate each other. They just talk about things. And when this is done in organizations, even in very straight-laced organizations, it usually starts off a little chaotic, but then something magical happens and people solve problems. People can start off with completely opposite agendas, and as they continue to dialogue, they find a common agenda that they can all support. It happens pretty much every time. It's quite a magical process. So let these different aspects of you, the 5 stars, start dialoguing with one another. So they're taking turns fully expressing, fully listening, fully expressing, fully listening. And out of that, they're going to create an aligned agenda. Now, I like to entertain myself. I imagine as they're doing this, that the star that's expressing twinkles brighter. You know, and I encourage people, anything that amuses you, go ahead and put that in. And as that process starts, we're going to help it. So all over the earth, they talk about energies that they call Mother Nature, Mother Earth. And everybody has felt that when you were out somewhere in nature or in a field or by a stream or by the ocean, up in a mountain. You feel this wonderful nurturing energy. So let that wonderful nurturing energy come up from the heart of the earth into your circle of stars so that the earth is healing and nurturing and helping to manifest this aligned agenda. And then let another star come down and let it be above the circle of stars. Now, this star represents, according to your own beliefs, you might say it's universal mind. You might say it's God. You might call it source or spirit. You might call it Allah, Buddha. You might call it Vishnu or Shiva or Brahma. We have all kinds of different names for spirit. And whatever your beliefs are, and your beliefs might be that just a collective human consciousness. Imagine that star is shining down guidance and help and support and healing to your 5 stars and sending down energies that will help manifest your aligned agenda. So you have your 5 stars in a circle, energy coming up from the earth, and energy coming down from the star above, helping the 5 aspects of yourself to dialogue and to start creating an aligned agenda. And as the 5 aspects of yourself are dialoguing, imagine that in the center of the circle, a tiny bright point of light is forming. And that's the beginnings of your aligned agenda, an agenda that every aspect of yourself can support, wants and needs that every aspect of yourself can support. And as they continue the dialogue, that point of light is going to start growing until it's a ball of light. And it's good to take a couple easy deep breaths and just relax. Let go of conscious control. Let your miraculous self, your wisdom and spirit be in charge. The less you try to be aware of it consciously, the more you just allow it to happen, the more wonderful it will be and the more miraculous it will be. And that point of light in the center of the circle of stars is starting to grow bigger and bigger as the aligned agenda gets clearer. It begins to sparkle, gets brighter. And then take that ball of light, that aligned agenda that's in your circle of stars, take it and let it come in and enter your heart. And from your heart, the energy of it spreads throughout your body and throughout your energy field, which is in your body and all around your body. And imagine that every cell in your body is now beginning to resonate in alignment with this aligned agenda. So every single cell in your body is aligning with it. And you can imagine that your energy body is a collection of little points of light. And imagine that each point of light in your energy body is resonating with that aligned agenda, so that your entire energy body and physical body are coming into complete alignment with your aligned agenda. And then the 5 stars that were in front of you, just dissolve that image and let the energies go back wherever they should go. And ask your miraculous self, your wisdom and spirit, to bring more of your authentic energy into your body. We get so clogged up with other people's programming and energy that it literally shoves part of our real self outside of our body and energy field. So allow your true energy to come back in your body and energy field. So that you as a spiritual being and you as a physical being are more and more in alignment and more present. And ask your miraculous self to bring in earth and universal energies that will support you in the manifestation of your aligned agenda. an easy deep breath. And imagine a ball of light in front of you. And that ball of light is a symbol. And the great things about symbols is they mean whatever you want them to mean. The same symbol can mean different things at different times. Let this ball of light represent that you have awakened to abundance, that you have awakened to abundance, and that you are already manifesting more and more abundance. That's part of your nature as a spiritual being, and it's now part of your life as a physical being. And allow your miraculous self to bring in earth and universal energies that will support this symbol, this awakening to abundance. You're having awakened to abundance. And let the earth and universal energy also clear out other people's energy that might be in that goal for you. Because everybody has opinions about what abundance should be and how it should work. Just clear out all their stuff and let your inner wisdom and spirit fill it with your wisdom and your spiritual information, which will always be better than other people's opinions. And then bring that symbol into your heart and let it spread throughout every cell in your body and every point of light in your energy body, so that your entire body and energy field are resonating with this awakening to abundance, to the manifestation of increasing abundance. And then ask the earth to really ground you and connect you to the earth. Take a few easy deep breaths, and it can be good to pat your body, stomp your feet, and come back into being physical. You might want to lightly stretch, or just lightly. And just in case I forget to mention this later, after doing energy work, it's really important to drink water, because these energy processes, they don't end when the process ends. They usually go on for at least 24 hours, often longer. And when people are sleeping at night, they really, part of the time they'll really be processing this. And all this processing actually causes physical changes in the body, and the body releases things. So if you drink water, that will help just clear all of that so that you'll feel good. Because if you don't clear all that, it can make it a little uncomfortable. If you drink water, it'll just leave. So how you doing there, Garrett?
Oh, wow. I'm back. I was patting my body. I drank a lot of water. Hopefully nobody heard me do that. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I imagine that people felt some tremendous and transformational changes in their body. I know I certainly did in mine. And how incredible that was. Such a beautiful process, Art. And oh my gosh, my brother, I could spend, and I'm sure our listeners could spend all day listening and speaking to you, and I don't have a lot of time left. So I've got a couple of questions that I promised our listeners we would get to, and I'm going to ask you in just a minute if you have any other exercise you could share with us. So I'll have you reflect on that. Well, I'm going to ask you a question about the secret coding system. I've never heard this spoken about before. You speak about a secret coding system of the mind. So could you explain what that is, part one? What is it, and how does it affect people's ability to create abundance?
Well, I love talking about this. And when I talk to my fellow NLP trainers, they all go, gee, I've never applied it to this. The basic idea is that the developers of NLP, one of the questions they ask themselves is, well, people think something, and then they immediately know how they're categorizing it. And how do they do that? So an example would be, you think of certain things and you know that they're true to you. You think of other things and you know that you're not sure, or you doubt them. Your unconscious mind has developed a way to code your thoughts so that you instantly recognize them. This happens outside of our conscious awareness, but you instantly recognize, this is something I believe, this is something I doubt, this is a memory, this is a fantasy about the future, this is something that's happening now, this is something I like, something I don't like. And again, the NLP term for this coding system is submodalities. the reason it's called that is in NLP, we talk about the different sensory systems being modalities. So there's your sight, there's the visual modality, the auditory modality, what are called kinesthetic or body sensations. There's even tastes and smells. And the unconscious mind has created submodalities, which are coding systems. So, for instance, if people start paying attention, if they think of something that they believe, if they have a mental image of it, that mental image will appear to be somewhere in their visual field. It might be right in front of them, or it might be up to the right. It might be close. It might be far. It might be very detailed and clear. It might be very fuzzy. And if they compare that with something that they're really unsure of, usually the picture will be in a different location in their visual field because that's part of the coding system. And maybe the belief will be clear, the doubt will be fuzzier. One might be color and one might be black and white. So they'll have different characteristics. Or if you're paying attention to your internal dialogue, beliefs may have a different voice than things you're not sure of. And it may sound like it's coming from somewhere different. So belief might sound like it's coming from right above your head, and a doubt might sound like it's coming from behind you, for instance. Everybody's a little different. And what I discovered is a lot of people, when they're doing their visualizations of what they want to manifest, or they're doing their affirmations, they have it coded as a fantasy, not as something that's happening or will happen. It's coded as a fantasy. And happily for anybody who's not locked up, when we code something as our fantasy, what we're telling our unconscious mind is don't actually do this. So you might have a fantasy of, quitting your job and going to a tramp steamer and sailing the world or becoming a rock star or something. But you may be totally clear in your mind. You have no intention of doing it. It's just fun to think about. And wishes and fantasies are an important part of our thought processes. But a lot of what people are doing when they do affirmations of different kinds of visualizations is it's coded as a fantasy. So you're literally telling your unconscious mind, don't do this. So somebody's going, okay, I want to have a really wonderful job, but it's coded as a fantasy. So the unconscious mind is going, okay, got it, don't do that.
Wow.
And
wow, that's what we're telling ourselves on one hand, consciously, I want to do it, but unconsciously you're saying, no, you really don't.
Yeah, because you're coding it wrong. And there isn't time right now to go into this in detail for people.
Right.
But
sure.
One thing that they can do is just start paying attention when you're doing an affirmation or visualization of something you want. Like, how real does it seem as real to you as if you go, the sun will come up tomorrow, or I'm a woman, I'm a man, whatever's true about you. So think of something that you absolutely are sure of.
Can we do that right now as a brief exercise for people?
Yeah.
An example around money, maybe around abundance, because we talked about I want to know how this secret coding system affects people's ability to create abundance.
Right.
So can we kind of tie that into a little exercise?
Absolutely. And just remind me how much time we have so that I...
well, we're past that. I'm going to make sure the listeners get everything out of this we can today, everything we promised. So go for it, my friend.
Okay. Oh, great. Well, I'm thrilled to do it. So again, I'll repeat for people, what we're working with, the coding system, is the characteristics or the submodalities of what you're seeing or hearing or feeling. And they'll be coded differently. And there are some fairly universal things, but everybody has developed their own system that's just theirs. In fact, if I can just say real briefly, I ruptured an eardrum one time, and it changed my perception of what I heard. So I could be sitting with really good friends having dinner, but they sounded far away. And I remember I started thinking, they don't like me. And I realized in my mind, when I thought of people who didn't like me, I heard them from far away. Just in my mind, that was my experience of it. And I had to remind myself, these are my really good friends. They like me. I just have a ruptured eardrum. But
wow.
Or I've heard of people having concussions that everything looks gray. Well, I'm sure everybody can imagine gray. Gray can be a lovely color. If all your images are grayed out, that tends to be a coding for depression. So people get a concussion and go, I don't know why I feel so bad. And the doctors go, well, there's nothing wrong with you, because they don't know about this.
Oh, well, fascinating. So relate this to abundance.
Yeah. So to abundance. And to start, though, I need to take a simpler topic. So I'd like people to think about something that they know they're going to do. So it could be, and the simpler the better, like brush their teeth. Like they know tonight or tomorrow they're going to brush their teeth. Or it's just something that simple. They're going to take a shower or take a bath. And then I'd like them, when they think of that, like, I'm going to take a bath at this time, or I'm going to brush my teeth at this time, notice if there's a mental image, what kind of mental image comes up, and where does it appear to be in your visual field? So let me ask you, Garrett, when you think of something like that, what comes up for you? A voice, an image?
A voice, but really an image of myself with a toothbrush in front of me and it coming up to my mouth. So it's pretty close to me.
Great. So it's pretty close to you. Is it clear or fuzzy?
It's clear.
Great. It's clear. It's fairly detailed, or?
Yeah, it's pretty detailed. Yeah, it is. It's clear and it's close to me.
So let's start with those. It's close to you. It's clear. It's detailed. Now, just put that image away and think of something that you know you're not going to do. Or think of something that's a fun fantasy, but you have no intention of doing it.
Okay, so all the listeners on there, I'm going to be sort of the universal example here today for you guys. So while Art's taking me through this, you guys use your own experiences. You take whatever that is for you, and you substitute what I'm saying for whatever's true for you, whatever images you're using. Is that right, Art?
Exactly.
Okay.
Thanks for adding that in.
You bet. So think of something that I know for sure. You said.
Yeah. So for me, it might be, being a rock star and singing with somebody famous. It's like, it's a fun fantasy. I have no intention of doing it, but it's a fun thought,
So think of a fantasy right now that I'd love to do, but I know that I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you'd enjoy it. It'd be fun, but you have no intention of doing it.
Okay, all right. So all the listeners, you think the same thing right now, and let me think of something. Okay, got one. Yeah, I'm going to be an astronaut and fly to Mars. Okay.
Great. Now, this image, where does it appear to be?
It appears to be far off and to the left.
Okay. So things like close or far off can be important parts of the coding system. So the one you are going to do was close. The one that's just a fantasy is far off to the left. Is it clear, and there are a lot of details, or?
No, it's hazy.
Hazy, yeah. Probably less details.
Less details, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely less details.
And that would be all you would need to know for the two differences. And for people that are more aware of their auditory, if you go back to the first one, is there something you would say to yourself about it? Like, I'm going to brush my teeth.
Yeah. I mean, for me, yeah. I'm going to brush my teeth. Yeah, I'm going to do that as soon as I get off the phone. So, yeah. There is that voice in my head says, if I see the toothbrush close and I hear myself saying that I'm going to brush my teeth. Yeah.
Great. And just notice the qualities of the voice and where it sounds like it's coming from. And if you're not sure where it's coming from, pretend it's like a speaker and you can move it around, and then notice where it wants to be.
For the first image?
Yes, for the first image.
Okay, so all you listeners,
So taking something you know you're going to do, what would you say to yourself, and what's the voice like, and where does it sound like it's coming from?
Okay, now should I answer that for the group right now as an example?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, the voice sounds like it's coming from my right and, next to me, right next to me, maybe to my right. I happen to have some hearing loss in the left ear a little bit. It's coming from my right more.
You don't have to describe it, but it will have a certain quality to it, tone of voice or your voice or somebody else's. Mm-hmm. And just let that fade away and then go back to your astronaut fantasy. And what would you say to yourself about that? And what's that voice like? And where does it come from?
I say, you got to be kidding. It looks like fun, but you crazy.
Yeah. And where does the voice come from? The same location to the right, or?
Actually, it's coming from the left.
Yeah, that's quite common too.
Oh, okay.
In fact, people that are in theater they've known this kind of thing in theater, like classically the protagonist would come in from the right, the villains would come in from the left, from the audience perspective.
The protagonist being the hero or the
heroes, yeah. The heroes come in from the right and the villains come in from the left, and just a lot of things. They recognize on some level that these things really affected people.
Wow, fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, they were intuitively or just by experiment were realizing about these submodalities, and it will have a different voice. So for everybody, just all you need is one difference. A couple of differences are great. And then what you do is you think of something that you truly want, some aspect of abundance that you really want that you haven't manifested, and then think about it and notice, how is it coded? Is it more like a fantasy or more like a definitely going to happen? So again, think of something that you want to manifest that you haven't, some form of abundance, and then just notice, where's the picture? What's it sound like?
So I just used a tremendous amount of money, and I found it was kind of in between those two.
Uh-huh. Very good. And a lot of people probably find that they'll either be all the way to a fantasy or it'll be in between.
So listeners, where is it for you once again?
Yeah, where is it located? What is it? What's the qualities of the picture? If there's an internal dialogue, what's the qualities of the internal dialogue? Where does it sound like it's coming from? What kind of a voice? You know, is it your dad going, "You can't do that," or what? Not blaming your dad, but even if he deserves it.
Yeah. Well, my father was always encouraging. So
mine too. Yeah. Some of us were lucky.
Yeah, exactly. So there'll be a voice. There'll be the picture. Just notice the quality of the picture and the quality of the voice. That if there is a voice that's associated with that picture, is that right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it might be their voice and just the tone's different, or it might not be. Might be somebody else's voice.
Okay. And remember, listeners, you can always pause this and listen to it and really give yourself the time. Yeah.
So you can pause it. When you're ready, what you do is you repackage it. So if it's an image like your one that's in between, you just take the image and push it way off into the distance. And then when you're ready, zoom it back, but zoom it back into the position where the image of what you're definitely going to do was existing, and make it and repackage it like that and change the voice so that you shift the visual and the auditory submodalities to go from being a fantasy or an in-between to the reality. So again, you shove it way off in the distance. When they're ready, you zoom it back into the position of something that you definitely know you're going to do. So I'll give everybody a chance to do that now.
So the example would be like close up where the toothbrush was. There's something I know.
Exactly. Yeah, get rid of the toothbrush, but that's where you're going to put it.
Okay, so get rid of the toothbrush, okay. Whatever you had in front of you, listeners. Okay, and so we zoom this thing off in the distance, okay?
Yep. When you're ready, zoom it back into that same location as the toothbrush picture was in.
Okay.
And do an internal dialogue similar to the toothbrush one that's very definite.
Wow.
How'd that go for you?
You know, it brought tears to my eyes. I mean, it's quite emotional, actually. It really caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I didn't expect this. It just made me feel really very emotional. And I heard this voice that said, "You can do it." Wow, that was...
These submodalities are so simple and they're so powerful. When I first learned about submodalities at all, I just read about it, and I was going to this NLP study group, and I went, there's this new process that I think I understand it from the description. They didn't even give the steps, and we all went through and took a limiting belief and changed it, like boom, and they stayed changed. They didn't go back.
Oh, so beautiful. So this, oh my goodness. I mean, I want everybody just to be with whatever experience you had. yourself, whatever that was for you. And you can do it, I guess, more than once, couldn't you, Art, if they
Absolutely.
felt like, okay, and they could do
well,
it.
what they can do is they can check on it when they think of it in the future. What is it? How are the submit? Where is it? What's the submodalities? And if it's shifted, then just keep doing it. Because it doesn't take long to do. Keep doing it until it really is solid. And it doesn't matter if you do it, if it happens the first time or if it takes 10 times. I mean, what difference does it make? Each time you'll move closer to it. And it's a simple, easy thing to do, and they can just listen to the recording.
Well, that is gorgeous. Oh, my goodness. So that was very, very potent and powerful, Mike. Thank you so much.
Your energy looks great.
Oh,
You're really
man.
moving.
Oh, thank you so much, Art. And I wanted to give our listeners the full boat here of everything that we promised we were going to give, and as usual, over-delivered, and I'm so grateful. So, Art, as we move into another section here, and goodness, I mean, we all have experience of this today, I imagine. I'm curious about what's possible for the people who are listening here today. I mean, can you take a few minutes and just share some of the amazing turnarounds for other people that you've seen, for people who have applied what it is you teach? Because I imagine we all have our own experience today, but could you share some other stories, maybe some amazing turnarounds from people that you've seen that have actually applied what you teach?
I'll give you some quick ones. I've had 3 different people who were absolutely going to lose their house. It was a done deal. All of them were able to save their houses. But all of them start off going, there's just no way, I'm going to lose it and lose all my money. And all 3 of them, things happen, and they put effort into it, but just doors open and things happen. And all 3 of them got to save their houses. This one, kind of a fun one, this woman one time was going, oh, I wish I could travel like you do. And she was a single mother with a daughter. And I go, well, why don't you? And she goes, well, because you have to have money. And I just worked with her and I changed that belief, because when you travel, you meet all these people who have very little money who are traveling all over the world. Yeah. And she calls me 2 weeks later out of the blue. Her brother, who was living in England, sends her a ticket for her and her daughter to come visit him in England. She goes, you won't believe what happened. And, and people, like, their careers change, their jobs open up, their businesses take off. They get more clients. Or talking to somebody this morning who just this wonderful, incredible opportunity has just opened up that could completely transform her business and transform the educational system in England. So you see really miraculous things happen. And some are just might be subtle. In one way, people becoming, all of a sudden they're really comfortable with abundance, because, a lot of us aren't comfortable with it. We get guilty or this or that, or think it's not spiritual, or, any of it, we're not worthy. And all of a sudden they just get comfortable with abundance, whether it's abundance in relationships or abundance in health, abundance in financial, whatever type of abundance, career and success. And just over and over and over again, people tell me just things opened up, They were stuck and then things start moving. And sometimes quite amazing opportunities, like my friends in England, or sometimes there's smaller opportunities, but they're very significant, Again, it depends on what they want.
Yeah, that's right. So back to that real quickly. So you said there were 3 people that you worked with that are all going to lose their house, and after working with you, they all saved their house. Is that what happened?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they all started off like there's nothing that can be done, And these were smart people who checked out their options and said it's hopeless, And we just changed the energy, changed their beliefs around that, and did a lot of other work, the alignment process, and some other things, and all right. Their houses.
Okay. I'm really excited about, as you probably know, about helping people take control of their lives. And there's so much more to learn from Art, and there's so much that he can offer us. I mean, these opportunities that you've had your own experience today, you've heard about some of these amazing turnarounds that people have had. And this guy is the real deal, in my personal opinion. And I've asked Art if he'll create a special offer for everybody who's listening to this call. So I highly, highly encourage you, I invite you to go to Art's special offer right now to experience it for yourself in even deeper levels. And Art, can you let everyone know what they're going to find on that page when they get there?
Well, the smart aleck and me was going to say the secret of life, but you may not find that, but you'll get some really good things. So one is they'll get 6 months of the energy of abundance telecalls that I do, and people have just been loving these. They're about 40 minutes long, and if you can't listen to the original broadcast, you can listen to the replay or get the download of it. And each week we work very powerful energies on opening up different aspects of abundance, and people have been getting wonderful results as a part of it. And it's once a month, and they'll get 6 months of that as part of the package. They'll get audio recordings of a workshop I taught at the Festival of Enlightenment. You got to love that name. And on emotional freedom, which combines NLP work with energetic work to give people a whole new relationship to their emotions, so that they're no longer afraid of any of their emotions, that they won't get stuck in their emotions. They value the usefulness of every emotion. They have different ways to express them. The emotional material is some of my favorite material because it just completely transforms people's lives.
When they look how to work with their emotions, because then our emotions drive our behavior, don't they? And so
exactly, they drive everything in our life, our decision making, our behavior, our abundance. Everything gets driven by our emotions, and it's such a rich part of our human life. And we just weren't taught how to work with it. And Leslie Cameron Bandler, who is a co-developer of NLP, developed this incredible approach to emotions from an NLP perspective. And then I combine with that energetic processes that just really take it to another level. So they get the audios from that workshop. They get the audios from a workshop called How to Live a Charmed Life, which is one of my favorite workshops that I do. And it's all about how do you open up to more and more synchronicity and good luck in your life. And that even if you're in a challenging or difficult situation, because, it doesn't mean that having a charmed life doesn't mean that you'll never get challenged in life. But what it means is that you'll always be incredibly supported and helped, and you'll feel confident. It makes a huge difference. It's made a huge difference in my life, that material. And people who participate in the workshop have all told me it really changes things. So they get the Energy of Abundance calls, which I think are amazing, the Emotional Freedom workshop, and the Charmed Life workshop. And one thing I want to say real quickly is one of the things that I teach people to do, and that I do, and it sounds mysterious to a lot of people, is remote energy work. 99% of the work I do is on the phone with people all over the world. And you can learn to work with energies that are everywhere at once. In physics, they call them non-local. They're not in one place, they're everywhere. And so when people listen to these workshops on audios, if they pretend they're happening right now, they'll feel the energy every bit as strong as people that were in the room with me. In fact, somebody told me recently, he was listening to one of my teleworkshops, and he was actually working on the computer, and he just had his phone near him, and in the background it was going on. He said, all of a sudden, I had this huge emotional release, and my eyes teared up, and I started shaking, and I felt this incredible release. And he goes, I looked at the phone and kind of went, oh my God, it's real.
This stuff really works.
Yes. So they're recording to workshops, and you'll get good information, but you'll actually be able to work energetically in ways that release the old programming and blocks and open you up to the amazing person that you really are. So
fantastic, Art. So is there any guarantee with this at all? Do you have any sort of policy there related to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if somebody's unhappy, they can get their money back. Yeah, just ask for your money back.
Well, there you go. How's it get better than that?
Yeah.
And the good news is that this stuff, you had a real experience of this today on the call with you, Art. And I'm so grateful that you're willing to join us and share some of these amazing processes with it. And it's just only touching the tip of the iceberg here with what's possible, because I know your work, and I know you're a humble guy, but I've actually gone on. You have some other information that I got a chance to take a look at, and it was amazing. I spent 2 or 3 hours just going through some of these processes myself before I joined you, and it was so powerful. So I just thank you so much. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with everyone before we go?
Yeah, this can sound like just a nice thing to say, but what I want is for people to really get that every single person on the planet is this amazing spiritual being. I mean, all of us, we're all special. it's funny that we're all running around trying to be special and unique, and we can't help it. We are special and unique. We are these amazing beings. And what I want for people is for them to open up to that, to let themselves blossom and shine, and to let the world benefit from who they really are, and let themselves have a lot of joy in being alive. So that's open to everybody. Even if your circumstances aren't good, you can start opening up to just this amazing joy in being alive. And that's what I want for people.
Oh, how beautiful, Art. Thank you so much for sharing all you shared with us today. My brother, I feel your heart, and I feel your desire to be a great service and a contribution to other people. And I know, and I imagine other people out there, our listeners, felt the same thing. And so I so appreciate how you've put this offer together, what you have put together as a practice, and how it's transformed other people's lives around the world. So I really appreciate you. I'll look forward to our next call together. And I want to thank our listeners for being on the call with us. I know there are other things you could have been doing and other ways you could have been spending your time, and just we appreciate all of you.
What you're doing, this program, this whole series, is such a service to people. So I want to thank you, and you create a wonderful energy around it. So I want to thank you for doing that. And again, thank the listeners. It's a very special type of person who will take time to try to develop themselves in the sense of really unleashing who they are and letting more of their true self shine through. So it's just an honor to be with you and with your listeners.
Oh, Art, thank you very much, brother. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. And, you know, it could be no better time right now than for all of us to open up to our own uniqueness and our own greatness. And so I appreciate all of you for being on the call today. And thank you again very much, Art, for spending time with us today. And I'm Garrett Lambert. And for all of you, may you all continue awakening to abundance in every area of your life. Have a wonderful day, everyone.